most have heard, we have to go back into session at 4:30. So we're going to cut some of our debate and discussion a little shorter today. So I already apologize for some of those issues that we might have to compact a little bit. What our order for today is going to be, we will hear Senate Bill 248, Senator Schaefer, and then Senate Bill 311, Senator Emery, and then Senator Schutz 328, Senate Bill 161, Mashid. We will not hear the scholarship bill, Senate Bill 299, that is my bill. And then we are going to hear Senate Bill 424, which is a bill that was added yesterday, and that is the bill on formula. There was quite a bit of debate yesterday on the floor about that, dealing with the transfer issue. So we're going to do that. And then we will hold an executive session on Senate Bills 172, 224, 93. And it's my intent to also exact our Senate Bill 424. Generally, that's not our practice, but I had a request from leadership to see if we can move that bill out today. So that will be our plan for today, and we will adjourn no later than 4:30. Questions of the committee? Seeing none, Senator Schaefer, we will have you start your bill as soon as we roll. Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Pierce, Romine, here. Brown, Henry, here. Lila,
Here.
Under, here. Gunndal,
Aye.
Bolton, here.
Quorum is established. Senator Floyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Senator Kurt Schaefer, 19th Senate District, here to present Senate Bill 248. This is the bill that deals with all commerce policies at higher ed institutions. And essentially, those are policies where the university, based on content of the beliefs of the groups, excludes certain groups from using campus facilities unless they accept everyone into their groups. And I'll give you a couple examples before I get into the content of the bill. In California, the University of California system de-recognized several groups, including InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, Campus Crusade, Chi Alpha, from each of their 23 California campuses. Some of these groups have been on campus for over 40 years, and that means over 400,000 students do not get the opportunity to meet with, join, or even hear the viewpoints of those organizations. The other very stark example is from Vanderbilt University, where Vanderbilt passed an all-comers policy. They de-recognized 14 Catholic and evangelical Christian organizations from campus. In August 2011, Vanderbilt University administrators informed the Christian Legal Society student chapter at Vanderbilt at the law school that the mere expectation that its leaders would lead its Bible studies, prayer, and worship was religious discrimination. In April of 2012, Vanderbilt told another Christian student group that it could remain a recognized student organization only if it deleted 5 words from its constitution, and those 5 words were personal commitment to Jesus Christ. The students left campus rather than recant their beliefs. And so essentially what this is higher ed institutions getting into content belief of what students' organizations believe, and then making a determination essentially of censorship and whether or not those organizations are allowed to use campus facilities based on their beliefs. It's obviously hit hardest with Christian organizations, but any religious organization that has a faith-based belief system, that members of that organization share those beliefs. If they do not allow others to join their group that do not share those beliefs, they're basically banished from campus. So essentially what the bill does, and there's a definitional section, but it's section 173.1560. It essentially has 3 main provisions. No public institution of higher learning shall take any action or enforce any policy that denies a religious student association any benefit available to any other student organization or discriminate against a religious student association with respect to such belief based on that association's requirement that its leaders or members adhere to the association's sincerely held religious beliefs, comply with the association's sincere religious observance requirements, comply with the association's sincere religious standards of conduct, or be committed to furthering the association's religious mission as such beliefs, requirements, standards, or missions are defined by the association or religion upon which the association is based. Then number 2, no public institution of higher learning shall substantially burden a student's exercise of religion except if it is in furtherance of a compelling interest of the public institution of higher learning, actually furthers that interest, and is the least restrictive means of furthering that interest. Essentially, it would be a strict scrutiny test under a constitutional analysis. And then number 3, any student or religious student association that has been aggrieved as a result of a violation of subsections 1 and 2 of this section may assert that violation as a claim or defense in a judicial or administrative proceeding against the public institution of higher learning and obtain appropriate relief, including damages against the institution. And then obviously there are many terms in there that require very specific definitions. That's the first section of this bill. That's essentially what the bill does. You know, it's interesting because I know one of the first questions probably some of you will have, well, has this happened in Missouri? I'm not aware of it officially happening, but I have been told by some students, including some who graduated from public institutions in Missouri 10, 15 years ago, that their organizations were told that they could not have meetings on campus. So it's been going on a long time. It's just getting, I think it's more mainstream attention now because of what's happened in California and Tennessee, but we need to make sure that this does not happen in the state of Missouri. Those religious beliefs are at the core foundation of our constitutional system of government. And it is not the place of an institution of higher learning to tell people what they should or should not believe in the religious context or what religion they can practice. That's pretty much the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions for the sponsor of the bill? Senator Spelman. Proceed.
Senator, I did not know that this was going on. I thought that years ago, maybe even decades ago, there was a case in the Supreme Court that allowed religious freedom in schools.
Well, what this says essentially is that students cannot use campus facilities or they cannot get funding from student fee organizations if they do not allow what the universities are doing is that they don't allow all comers. In other words, regardless of the fact that you have, whether it's a Christian or any other religious-based student group, if you don't allow people to join your group that do not share those beliefs, then you can't use school facilities, you can't share in student activity fees and things like that. Yep.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Senator, proceed.
Senator, thank you for your bill. I like it. Of course, we always get asked that question, did it ever happen in Missouri? And of course, I'm not sure of any examples in the higher ed context, but as you might know, in the secondary ed context, it happened.
Sure.
It was a quite prominent case, Ladue versus Good News, Good Sport Club, I think was the name of it, in which the Ladue School District, although they allowed all manner of other student groups to use their facilities, they did not allow this Christian Bible study group to use their facilities. And I believe that went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Christian Club prevailed. So I think I hope we don't need a U.S. Supreme Court case to allow our students in Missouri religious liberties, which all should enjoy. So, no, thank you for your bill, and look forward to support it.
Thanks, Ed.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I see you have your first witness there. I will inform all members that are present that we will have a 3-minute limit on testimony because we have a lot on the docket today. So with that, introduce yourself, and the floor is yours, sir.
Carl Esbeck, Columbia, Missouri. While I'm testifying for myself, I've been a faculty member at the University of Missouri School of Law for over 30 years. I teach constitutional law, church-state relations, federal civil rights, and some other courses. I'm testifying in favor of Senate Bill 248 and also 311. Since the time is short, let me begin by responding to the questions and the comments that I've already heard from some of your committee members. You're correct that it's been eons ago. It was 1981 in the Widmar versus Vincent case, which came out of the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And it did go all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, by 8-1, upheld the free speech rights of that religious group called Cornerstone. But in 2010, the same U.S. Supreme Court, in a case called CLS versus Martinez coming out of California, ruled against the religious student group by 5-4 and said that there was no religious rights. So there's been a reversal here, and that's much of the reason for this particular need for this bill. The Ladue case was mentioned. As it turns out, I was lead counsel for the Good News Sports Club in that particular case. And of course, that was at the primary and secondary level. But as a result of the Widmar case and some additional cases, we were able to win that case. It's not at all clear that the Ladue case would come out the same way today because of that 2010 Martinez case. Let me mention that Missouri is hardly breaking new ground here. That 7 other states have already passed similar legislation. Ohio, Tennessee, Idaho, Oklahoma, Arizona, Virginia, and North Carolina. So, Missouri is seeing the need here, but it's certainly not breaking new ground. So you can pass this bill with a good deal of confidence. Senate Bill 248 is patterned after the Oklahoma legislation. Senate Bill 311 is patterned after the Ohio particular legislation. As to need, attached to my witness appearance form, I compiled off the net all of the rules and regulations from the University of Missouri in Columbia that pertain to student recognition of religious student organizations. It compiles 7 pages, single-space type, and nowhere in there is the kind of accommodations that are being asked for in this bill. Essentially, it's a non-discrimination on the basis of religion policy, and that leads to an absurdity. So if you're a student Jewish organization, you can't require that your leaders be Jewish. I mean, on its face, that just defies common sense. The university has repeatedly been asked to adhere to these rules. Nothing gets done. We don't hear no, we just hear nothing. There was, just 5 years ago, a Christian men's fraternity that was initially refused recognition, and they appealed to University Council, and after a couple of months, University Council did rule that, yeah, we're going to recognize you notwithstanding your Christian faith, but they said in their letter, this letter is not precedent for any other religious organization, so no other religious organization can rely upon this letter. So I see my time is up.
Well, thank you very much for your testimony. Hopefully, it is telling you that some of the members will have questions to continue the dialogue. So at this time, questions for the witness.
I did want to know, I know that you have a lead, you have a class 4, but you did say that you were also in support of Senate Bill 311, is that right?
That's correct, yes. I'm testifying also in support of 311.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for this witness? Senator Brown.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today. And the question that I guess I struggle with, or the idea that I struggle with, America was founded on religious freedoms. But where do we cross the line that we're aiding and abetting a theocracy?
That's a good question. We've got the same question over on the House side. This is not a religious preference bill, and that's where we cross the line. This is an equal access bill. These groups are just asking to be treated like others, but they are belief-oriented or belief-centered organizations. Like any belief-centered organization, you can't sustain your purpose when you can't control the leadership of your organization when they would deny the core beliefs of the organization.
Thank you, that helps, because I struggle with that. It's like, we welcome religious freedom, we welcome multicultural, but at what point are we able to draw the line that a theocracy is not acceptable for Americans?
A nice way to think about this is, let's say you're the Sierra Club and you want recognition, or you want to be recognized. And the Sierra Club, for example, would understandably say, well, you can't be a leader in our student organization if you're a climate change denier, okay? Because that's core with what the Sierra Club student organization is about. A religious group can't do that under the regulations as presently exist. They could deny the statement of faith of the organization and still be a leader.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time. Next witness in favor. Senate Bill 248.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Samuel Lee of Campaign Life Missouri, to go on record in support of Senate Bill 248. I want to thank Senator for sponsoring this. And I want to focus in specifically on discrimination against pro-life campus groups. And I just did a quick survey earlier today of some of the cases, and this is just from one organization which defends these students, Alliance Defending Freedom, and they've documented cases, and they've been involved with cases where they had to file suit on behalf of students and student pro-life organizations at University of Houston, Arizona State University, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and Baltimore, Eastern Michigan University, goes on and on. And generally what would happen, a student pro-life group would seek funding for a pro-life event. That could be, or they would want to do an outdoor display, and they were either outright denied, or they were told they had to go to certain zones, which were far, far away from the student union or other places. And consistently, except for maybe one case I found where the Ninth Circuit did not grant relief, consistently either by the courts or through settlements, the courts have found that these groups have the same right to access as all the other groups. So to the extent that this bill, and of course Senate Bill 311, would protect these organizations, if I can testify in both here, Mr. Chairman, it would protect these organizations who are in support of that. You asked about, has this happened in Missouri? Well, interestingly enough, not at a public college university. You may recall, if you're from the St. Louis area, about 13 years ago, at Washington University, a private institution of higher education, the Student Bar Association denied a pro-life law students group the right to be a member and to receive fees and things like that. Interestingly enough, the eastern region of the ACLU came to the defense. And of course, we're not talking about a public university, we're talking about private, but they reversed course on their third vote. But certainly, this type of discrimination has occurred, and this bill and these bills would help remedy that.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness? Senator Robert?
Quick question, Sam, do you know whether the, not the law student group, but the WashU pro-life undergrad group still exists?
I think it still does. Of course, you know, with any sort of university organization, it comes and
It
goes
comes and
with
goes.
leadership, right? But as far as I know, it still does, and I think even some medical students are involved.
And I commented in anyone.
Right. The St. Louis University group is probably the most active in the St. Louis area.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next witness in favor.
Mr. Chairman, committee, for the record, Terry Messer on behalf of the Missouri Baptist Convention Christian Life Commission. I need to ask if you need witness forms separately on both these bills.
Yeah.
I think it'd be wise just to testimony one time for both bills. We'll do separate forms. The Missouri Baptist Convention supplies support services to a broad range of campus ministries in our campuses across the state of Missouri. I'm very concerned that those ministries are not in some way discriminated against or prohibited from doing what those students like they need to do. There's student-led programs, and the fact that in other states they have run into severe problems has everybody on edge, and we would like to see something done to secure their ability to do as their conscience leads them. Thank you.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next witness in favor.
My name is Jerry Cady, registered lobbyist for Missouri Alliance for Freedom. We're just here to go on record in support of the bill.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you. Next witness in favor. Seeing none, any witness in opposition to Senate Bill 248?
Good afternoon, Senators. I'm here to talk about Senate Bill 248 and how it would affect me personally.
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, my name is Richard Thompson. I'm a student at the University of Missouri. I'm here to talk about Student Bill 248 and how it would affect me personally. This legislation, for me, as a bisexual male, means that I can be kicked out of any group at any time, and the university will have no recourse to stop that from happening, as long as it's a religious belief. For me, this would be a travesty. I'm a very spiritual person and have long been spiritually curious, and I would love the opportunity to join some of the faith groups on campus. But if you allow them to kick me out, I will not be able to do that. This is very disappointing. Also, I would like to point out that I paid the student activity fee. It would be unfair for me to not be able to go to an activity given that I've been able to pay that fee. Lastly, if we're talking about Christianity and we're talking about Jesus, Jesus did not throw people out. Jesus did not cast the first stone. Jesus accepted all. That's all I have to say.
Any questions for this witness? Senator Shalino.
Yes, Jennifer, I'm Mr.
Proceed.
What Can you tell me what provision in this bill would limit you from participating in a religious?
Well, the religious organizations would have the right to kick me out without having funding taken away by the school.
So can you show me what provisions
I don't have
in
a
this
copy of the
bill
legislation.
does that? We have a lot that we're doing today, but I would like to know specifically what section, not now, but later on your own time, because there are other people who want to speak today. But what section of this bill, as it is written, would limit you from having access to any of those organizations? And you can just follow up with my office, and if any other senators are interested, I would feel free to pass that along. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions, Senator Honor?
Yes, thank you. I had a question for that.
Yeah, so I think the relevant section here is, quote, student organization based on the association's requirement that its leaders or members adhere to the association's sincerely held religious beliefs. Are you saying that, let's say you want to be a member of a Baptist organization, but you're not Baptist, or that you want to be a member of a Jewish organization, but you're not Jewish? What is it? Can you give an example of an organization on campus you'd like to belong to, but they would quote, kick you out?
I don't know personally that they would certainly kick me out for sure, although it seems that they've been arguing for that freedom.
Well, I don't know of many organizations that require that their members, let's say a Baptist organization, require that their members be Christians, because after all, no one is perfect, or we would not need a redeemer. But on the other hand, I'm Catholic. I never felt discriminated against when I was in college because the Jewish organizations, and there were many of them on Washington campus, required that you be Jewish to be a member. So I think that's the key to this. It's required that members adhere to an association's sincerely held religious beliefs. I can't imagine if you were Baptist, that a Baptist organization would kick you out.
Well, that would be ideal, but they would not kick you out. But it would. This legislation would open the door to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Any other witnesses in opposition?
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Sarah Rossi, R-O-S-S-I. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Policy for the ACLU of Missouri. This will be brief. I want to start with a fun fact, which is that I was actually a named party in one of these lawsuits when I was in law school in Montana. The Student Bar Association, of which I was a member, denied funding to Christian Legal Society because their bylaws required that their leadership adhere to their sincerely held religious beliefs, one of which was that marriage is between one man and one woman, and that practicing homosexuality was a sin. So we denied their funding request because we, as a student bar association, as a law school, had an all-comers policy. We were sued by the Christian Legal Society because we denied that funding, and we actually won that lawsuit based on the CLS decision in 2010. And that's kind of what this bill comes down to. I think there's a lot of quibbling about if you're Jewish, if you're not Jewish, you want to join a Jewish student organization, or Baptist, and not Baptist, you want to join a Baptist organization. I think that boils down to, you can join whatever student organization you want. I was part of the Native American Legal Society in law school, and I'm not Native American, but I cared about their issues, and I cared about learning about their issues. And that's why I joined that student group. I was actually elected as an officer at one point because I cared about the issues, and I passionately advocated for them, but I wasn't required to be Native American to be an officer. So I think what this comes down to is that universities and there's two different classes of universities we're talking about. So some universities in Missouri already have all-comers policies, right? So if this bill passes and they are still enforcing their all-comers policy and not giving funding to student groups who discriminate against LGBT people, for example, and they are sued because they are enforcing that all-comers policy, under CLS, they would be in the right. They would be constitutionally sound in denying that funding. The other class of universities that we're talking about are universities that don't have all-comers policies yet, and this bill would prohibit them from basically passing an all-comers policy that would deny funding to student groups who discriminate against LGBT people or other people. And that's what it comes down to. Student groups can discriminate until the cows come home. They can do it on campus, they can do it in their policies. The difference is that public universities that are funded by public money shouldn't be required to give that money or lend their name to student organizations who are discriminating in violation of the university's policies. So it's kind of a separation of church and state issue, but it's mostly a funding discrimination issue for the universities who would refuse to do that. That's all I've got. I'll sit in questions.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you.
Thanks. I'll just say that my opposition will be the same for 311 and all to turn into different forms.
Thank you. Next in opposition.
Hello, my name is Kyle Kukola, and I'm here to represent Promo, Missouri. Promo is Missouri's statewide lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender advocacy organization. And we are also in opposition to this bill for many reasons spoken previously. I would like to reiterate that in the bill it says a student organization and their sincerely held religious beliefs. How do you define that? There are certainly religious organizations that exist that are very anti-LGBT. And to assume that LGBT students are not religious and do not hold sincerely held religious beliefs would be a hugely profound misrepresentation of the LGBT community. And it would be a shame to keep them from practicing their faith with their peers. In addition, these are all organizations that are paid for by students. Students pay into a student organization fee. This fee goes into a pot of money, and that pot of money is then distributed to student organizations. These students pay for this service and they should have access to it as they see it. And I'd say that I'm open to questions.
Any questions for this witness? Senator Arnold.
So let's say there were a chapter of Promo on a university campus. Should that chapter of Promo be thrown off campus if they denied an officer position to a person who believed marriage was between one man and one woman?
I believe officers are elected by the body, correct? By the body of their organization?
Well, I don't know. Might it not be in Promo's bylaws that the officers had? Well, what if the number of students who believed that kind of took over the Promo chapter and elected such a person, and you said, well, this violates our bylaws, could that Promo chapter be thrown off campus?
Well, like I said, I think students should have access to the student organizations. I know that Promo as a whole, our mission, our values, would never deny someone who, quote unquote, is anti-LGBT from speaking with us, joining a group, and anything that we do publicly. And if enough people who are anti-LGBT choose to join that group, and they elect a president, then I think the students who are they should have the right to do that, especially since the students pay for those fees, the students fund those organizations that the school is affiliated with, and like the ACLU said, the school organizations are lending their name to that. Do I think that there will be people that concerned that are going to go and disrupt a student organization and flood their student organization with people to outvote leadership? I do not think that will happen.
I guess my point is at a certain point that no longer is an LGBT organization, and the question is whether you allow freedom of association and some sort of institutional integrity. But at least you're being consistent. Thank you.
Any other questions for this witness? Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in opposition to Senate Bill 248? Anyone wishing to testify for informational purposes only? Seeing none, that will conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 248. Any closing remarks?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Next bill up for consideration, Senate Bill 311.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Ed Henry, Senate District 31. I'm happy to present Senate Bill 311 to you this morning, this afternoon, and I think this will be very brief because Senator Schaefer has adequately described what this bill does. It does essentially the same thing that his language does. It's a little shorter because it doesn't have some of the language in here about compelling interest. Is items 2 and 3 on page 2, but its purpose is the same. Its effect would be essentially the same.
Senator, can you please get a little closer to your mic?
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It prevents the university from denying benefits to religious organizations simply because they require their members to believe the same way they do in a belief-based membership. One of the things I think I'll just point out quickly is that this absolutely does not say that someone does not have sincerely held beliefs just because those beliefs differ from the associations that we're seeking to protect here. In fact, this acknowledges that people hold very serious spiritual beliefs and that they believe that they should be able to hold those as an association and to have free choice of association within that group. So I don't see that this is it has the problems in it that might have been discussed, but we've heard the testimony for and against. I think the testimony would be the same. I did not bring any witnesses that have prescribed to testify, so I would be happy to answer any questions or simply have you open it up.
Thank you very much, Senator. Any questions for the sponsor of the bill? Seeing none, and we appreciate that unless you have something new or different, if you're just acknowledging that you supported this bill as you were in the previous bill, that would be sufficient to make sure you have a separate witness form for this bill. But at this time, any witnesses in favor of Senate Bill 311? I see shaking heads for those that have testified before and present forms for 311 with similar language. All right, anyone wishing to have additional testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 311? By the same token, fill out a separate witness form for this bill as well. D1 for informational purposes only. Senator Pierce.
Thank you. Senator, are you willing to work with Senator Schaefer? And
Absolutely.
That's
Right, I agree, Mr. Chairman. That's exactly what we should do. And we'll figure this out and make sure that it's a single bill.
Okay. Yeah, we can do 2 different bills. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Any closing remarks?
No, not at all.
Thank you very much. That will conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 311.
Thank you. Our next bill is Senate Bill 328. And I will say that we have given permission to Allie Halser, is that right? With Progress Missouri Commission for her to report today's hearing. Senator Shute, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Jill Shute, District 24 in St. Louis County. Thank you, Chairman Pierce, and members of the committee for hearing Senate Bill 328. This is a youth suicide awareness and prevention education bill. And we see it as an important step forward in helping save young people's lives. There are really 2 parts to this bill. The first part is around policy, and it talks about the fact that the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education will create a policy by July 1st of 2016, a model policy that school districts may follow in coming up with ideas around how to address this issue in their schools. Then by 2017, school districts will put into place a policy that can mirror DESE's policy, it can amend it, or it can be a policy that they think suits their school district uniquely in a better way. These policies include guidelines for training district employees. And the district gets to decide what exactly will be in that policy so that the educators, the personnel in that district is allowed to have some education around this issue to try to help identify students who may be in crisis, who need some kind of intervention or help. The second portion of this is around educator training. as I just talked about. So the youth suicide prevention and awareness will always be an option for educators year after year with an opportunity for them to earn 2 hours credit towards their state mandated credits needed to maintain their professional status. Already, these teachers in schools must do professional development. This provides one additional option for teachers. It does not require any teacher to take this as their professional development option. But the program will be out there. DESE will provide materials and information. We have model programs that have been created within the state and around the nation that DESE can use to base their policies on, as well as each individual district. The resources for the districts will come from DESE, and if you'll note, there is a fiscal note provided, and it is a zero fiscal note. This is of no cost to DESE nor to the school districts. Again, this is not a mandate that every teacher or educator or person in the school district must be trained. This is opening the door to say, for those who have an interest, this is an important part of helping to keep our youth and our young people alive. I'm talking quickly. I know you may have questions. We have a multitude of witnesses here today with different experiences and different backgrounds who would like to share their understanding and the importance of this issue with you. So unless you have questions, we're going to go ahead and run down this list.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this is not mandatory for the school district to provide this, but should they provide it, there will be a cost. Where will that cost come from?
Well, and tell me what you mean by there will be a cost. They're already required to do professional development, so this is just one more option within their professional development realm.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Ms.
Thank you.
Senator Green should have one.
So how do school districts prioritize their professional development? I know we do in our district. If there are every school board, as you know, because you were a school board member, face challenges.
Right.
And depending on the school district, suicide prevention may not be a priority.
That's right. And that's right. And they're not teachers are not required to take this professional development course, but it's going to be out there. It's going to be available. And for those districts and those teachers or educators who think that this is important for them in their school district, it will be available for them to utilize.
It would come through DESE.
It will come through DESE. This will be made available to them, and you'll hear from witnesses today that there are programs out there that are easily copied and adaptable, and that we have actually permission as a state to utilize some of these programs at no cost.
So DESE already has a suicide prevention program that exists today.
DESE does not. DESE is putting together a policy and developing a program, and we have met with DESE and the Department of Mental Health. They feel very well equipped to do this. They're actually...
So they can assume the cost. They can assume the cost.
They say that there will be no cost, yes. They can assume it with the personnel that they have in place now.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I very much use suicide is a big problem. And
Right.
I commend you for addressing it. Now, you said there's nothing mandated on the part of the school districts, but 178.048 does say by July 1st, 2017, each district shall adopt a policy for youth suicide.
Right. Yes, there is a mandate that says you must adopt a policy. And we've done that before. We've done it with, I have a list of a few things, allergy, diabetes.
Sure.
So yes, they must put a policy into place.
Sure. You as a former professional educator, you know better than I how little districts like mandates.
Yes.
In general, they've accepted the self-related shall adopt policy.
Right. And again, you know, this has come out of a real concern, especially in the state of Missouri. We do have a very high suicide rate among youth. And you will hear testimony from, I believe, the Missouri School Boards Association, the Missouri Association of Administrators, saying that they support this legislation.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's call your first witness.
Thank you. So here to my right today to speak with you is Carol Cantor. Carol lost her 15-year-old daughter to suicide. Good afternoon. My name is Carol Cantor.
I'm going to read this because of this, being very sensitive to the situation.
Senator, put the microphone up. Let's do it.
Sorry.
Thank you.
At the age of 17, my daughter Avery took her own life. That was only 9 months ago. Diagnosed with severe depression just months earlier, we were working through the issues, or so I thought. I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, but it was not enough. I didn't have all the resources or information that I have now. I am before you today because I have learned that youth suicide is prevalent and very real in my world. We need to do all that we can to tell the rest of the world, whether it is a result from mental illness, bullying, or something else. Suicide makes news every day, and every day that child's life is lost, leaving the family and friends to figure out the whys. I would say most youth suicides don't make the news because of the stigma, which does not help in building awareness. Sadly, at this very moment, a young person is contemplating suicide. Your children, your grandchildren are affected. Avery was an honor student, two-sport varsity athlete, and a peer leader. Most of all, she was a loving daughter. She was selfless and had genuine care of others who needed someone to listen or just hold their hand. She was popular, and no one saw this coming. Suicide does not discriminate. Since her passing, I have received private messages from the community how their personal lives have also been touched by suicide, many in their own family. In every case, we are talking about past tense, after the fact. Too late to do anything about it except to grieve. We are the survivors of suicide, traumatized by this sudden, horrific tragedy. I will not remain victimized, but must fight my way through this and find a way to reach those who are hiding in their pain, even if only to save one child. Today we have a chance to make a difference. You as lawmakers, this bill can save a young person's life. Missouri will lead the way. We are the show me state. So let's show these young people that we care. We must be a voice for those who cannot hear their own voice. Bill 328 will allow school leaders to be educated on suicide prevention. Statistics support creating awareness, and prevention will save lives. Your help here today will make a great start for those who can only see an end. By passing this bill, you will help to open the door of dialogue that has been too long shoved under the rug to help remove the stigma of suicide. Many people, many educators are ready and willing to help, but we need a partner. We need leadership. We ask that you be that partner, that leader. Finally, it truly does take a village to raise a child, now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, very sorry for your loss. I appreciate you being here. Questions, Senator Strong?
Yes, to inquire and to want to say that we are sorry for your loss. There are some questions that I do have, though. You mentioned earlier you tried to work through the issues with your daughter, Avery, and you knew that something was going on. At any time, did you contact her teachers or any administrators?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and was there a specific person in the administration who you thought was qualified to deal with the issue?
No, I didn't.
You did not. What county do you come from?
St. Louis County.
St. Louis County. Okay. And you know the Children's Services Fund?
I'm sorry?
Are you familiar with the Children's Services Fund?
No.
Okay, thank you.
My daughter was under medical care.
Okay.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you very much, Carol. We do appreciate that. Can I ask how many folks plan on testifying on behalf and support the bill? Okay, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to hear her. So we can only spend about 30 minutes on the bill. And so I apologize for that. However, if we don't get to you, you are certainly welcome to give written testimonies and we will be able to do that. Is there anyone that's going to be in opposition to the bill? Raise your hands. Or informational purposes only? Okay, we're going to spend that.
We asked everyone else to limit it to 2 minutes, and we put some people together, so we're trying to move quickly.
Proceed. I'm saying, Senator, we might not be able to hear from everyone because we have to go at 4:30, and I apologize for that. That's just the nature of the Senate monitor. Thank you. Proceed.
Good afternoon, Senator. My name is John Shaughnessy, the principal of Lafayette High School in the Rockland School District, St. Louis County. Since April 2014, Lafayette High School has dealt with 3 student suicides and 1 suicide murder between a father and a son. As you can imagine, our world has been rocked and changed as we know it today. I'm here in support of this bill. As an educator, I agree, Senator, I'm not a fan of adding more policy to what I do, but this is necessary and certainly needed. In the 11 months that we have dealt with this issue at my school, I have reached out to Children's Fund, Service Fund, I've reached out to the Chad's Coalition, to Annie's Hope, whatever I can find and whoever I can find to come in and support our staff and our student body as we deal with the whys, the hows, and what do we do to get through this. The reason I did that is because I cannot sit back and wait. I have to have something in place to help in this issue. This is not an issue that is solely affecting Lafayette High School. This is an issue that is nationwide. And we need something in place to help support the educational piece as we learn and deal with this from our stance. It's ironic that our schools and our districts are very good at putting policy in place for trip vouchers and textbook adoptions and teacher evaluations, but we have nothing in place that deals with people and how to deal and treat with people who need help, whether it's mental illness, suicide, or depression. I'm here today because this bill allows that to happen. It's a wonderful opportunity to coincide with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to really focus on what is needed in schools today and provide that professional staff development and those resources for those that are qualified to help with this matter. I want to be brief because I know I have a lot of folks behind me.
Questions of the witness, Senator.
Thanks, John. Just real quickly, you said this bill will allow you to do that. Are you not allowed to do that now?
This bill will help support that. I'm allowed to, but I spend the time on my own researching and finding what's needed. I would like to have some resources that are at my fingertips and be able to train and teach my teachers to deal with these types of issues that go on every day. Many notice, many not notice.
You don't know of any resources out there now?
I know of resources, yes, sir, and I spend the time researching that. What would be nice is if districts had support at their fingertips and did not have to do the research after the fact. We're reacting to this right now. What we need to do is be proactive and have some policies and practices in place that allow us to deal with this at a time.
I mean, whether this legislation passes or not, are you taking any actions?
Well, yes, sir. Myself and the school, I'm putting some things together to help address this issue at Lafayette High School.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Senator Chicago.
Mr. Chair, I'm surprised that there is not a person in your administration who is familiar with how to deal with these situations. Are you telling this committee that there is not anyone identified to deal with this?
No, that's not what I said. Our district does have counselors at hand. We do have folks in our central office that deal with this issue. But again, when it's in your building, this becomes a very personal issue and one that I need to put my time and effort into a little bit more because these are my kids. Avery was my son. So yes, we do have people in our district that have this as one of their responsibilities.
Okay, and so in your building, how many counselors, you're at the high school, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So
we have 5 counselors.
You had 5 counselors and they were unable to address these issues?
I'm not saying they're not able to, but each caseload is about 500. So the fact that they may not have addressed this the way it could have or should have, it's just a sheer fact of the numbers that they deal with. I'm not saying that they're not qualified, but again, part of their job is this, but again, we're dealing with schedules, we're dealing with all kinds of issues that come into their office. So they again, this bill would support the work that they're doing. Wouldn't change it, wouldn't alter it, it would support what they're doing. Give us a little bit more direction when it comes to suicide and depression.
And I get that. But the other question that I have, is there a communication problem between your counselors and the administrative person?
No.
There's not?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next witness.
Mike Reed,